I'm still missing Julian and Jeremy.
No, Julian is here.
Oh, okay. You just didn't show up on my screen.
Okay. Yep. I've been here.
Okay. How about Jeremy? Are you there?
David, this is John Rose. I just want to make sure I'm showing up on your screen as well.
Yeah, I see both you and Arlette.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. We're waiting for one more commissioner before we start. Jeremy's on. Okay. All right, we have all the commissioners that are available this evening. Will Ortiz is traveling and did not think that he would be able to join us. So I would like to call the February 22nd, 2021 Village of Lake Park Park and Recreation Commission meeting to order. We have a couple public comments this evening, and we'll start with John and Arlette Rosenau, who would like to speak about the fishing on Normandy Pond. So you have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Just toss me right in there, aren't you? I appreciate that. So I just want to thank y'all for hearing us out for a minute or two this evening. Appreciate y'all being here. So everybody should have received 4 PDFs that we sent out yesterday. If you didn't, just let us know. We can send those back out. But basically what we're trying to do, we attended a meeting, it was 6 months ago now, back in August 24th. And what we're trying to do is trying to get some information as far as what process or how we could go about closing Normandy Pond to fishing. Right now it's currently open. We went through that, we had the meeting, and it was kind of determined, it sounded like, that nothing was going to change. So since then, we've done a little bit more research. We've spoken with our neighbors here around the pond, everyone that backs up to Normandy Pond. And so we did a little research. Basically, our concerns with having it open for fishing, just so you're aware, and it's on those in those documents we sent, is safety and security. Our backyard's back directly up to the pond. The pond doesn't face any front yards and very little roadway. So minimal ring camera surveillance back here, minimal people driving by, seeing what's going on. So you get areas back here that people aren't really coming into unless they're fishing or doing other things. So, having a backyard up there, it's difficult sometimes to enjoy our backyard, our privacy, when there's people standing 5 or 10 feet away from our backyard fence. So that's kind of our concerns. That's kind of why we're trying to do this. We've been in the house for 10 years. This has been a concern for us the entire time. I just am a slow mover, and it's finally taking me this time to actually present it to you. So our pond is a little different than a lot of the other ones that are open to fishing. In that PDF document, there's a table that shows all the other ponds and kind of, do they back up to roadways? Do they back up to yards? So ours is pretty much 100% backs up to backyards. A lot of the other ponds that are open for fishing are primarily fronting a roadway and a sidewalk. So people are already walking there. People are already doing the dog walking. There's poop stations. There's all that fun stuff that is common for an open space environment. And mixing with the general population. Ours is a little different. It's kind of like you're in everybody's backyard. So it has a different feel. So that's why we're saying ours is a little different than a lot of the ones that are open for fishing. With all that being said, we also polled our 14 neighbors here. Of those 14 polled, 10 of them actually replied, so we got a good response. We did that in January. It was an even split. 5 said yes, close it. 4 said, please leave it open. And 1 said, hey, we don't have an opinion either way. Of those 4 that said close it, 1 even said, look, if the neighbors say that we want it closed, let's go ahead and say we'll close it, but keep it open for if your backyard backs up to it, which is what we're recommending. So our recommendation based off of the research, based off of our concerns and speaking with our neighbors is not to close it to everybody, but to close it to everyone except for the residents, the houses that actually back up to it. Because I know many of our neighbors bought our houses because we had the pond here. Whether we fish or not, it was a nice ability to have that option to fish in our backyard. So that's kind of what we're presenting. That's what we're proposing, and would like for you to consider it. We don't want you to make the decision tonight. Think about it this month. If you have any questions for us, please reach out to us. Contact information is in those documents. Talk amongst yourselves, but that's what we're thinking. And Will is not here, so maybe he'll have an opinion as well. That I think it'd be valuable to get his opinion as well. So that's what we've got. Thank you very much for your time. If anybody's got any questions right now, we can take it. Otherwise, David, we'll hand it back over to you, sir.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank you for presenting your information this evening and for sending that out to all of us. I did forward that to all the commissioners as well as Angie and Cherie. I think everybody did receive it, but may not have had a chance to digest it since it was sent out this morning. And as you said, Mr. Ortiz is not here this evening. He's the co-chair of Park and Rec. So what I'm proposing is that we put it on the agenda for next month's meeting and actually put it on as an agenda item. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for John or Arlette this evening before they leave us?
Mayor, this is Jeremy. I don't necessarily have a question. I just like to make a couple of quick statements. Number one, Mr. Rosenau, I think you guys did a great job. But a lot of times people just propose things without taking the time to do some research and some R&D, and I think you did that. So I do appreciate that. I do think it creates, and then again, this is for discussion next month, but I think it creates a challenge when you're asking to close a pond that would be maintained with public dollars in an area that maintained with public dollars for the use of the select private residents that live there. But again, we'll discuss it next month and talk about it. But I think I understand your concern. I think it creates some challenges. Not at all saying we can't work around them. My main point tonight is I appreciate your research and the stuff that you sent us.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor, this is Julian. I had a question in reference to, I did read the narrative. Was there any occasions where police had to be called because of the security concerns or the concerns of somebody staying longer than you deemed appropriate?
Julian, thank you. That's a good question. And Arlette and I have talked about it. It's like, we don't want, and the answers, we have never called law enforcement. I can't speak for anybody else, but no, I don't think it's ever gotten to that level where law enforcement has been called.
Good question, Julian. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? If not, I do want to thank you, John and Arlette, for joining us this evening. And if you would like to sign in on YouTube, the entire meeting this evening is being broadcast on YouTube. But we will put the fishing on Normandy Pond on the agenda for next month. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay,
You
good
too.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, next, for public comment, Angie would like to speak for the swim team.
Thank you. I have to change hats and request from Park and Rec use of the Junior Olympic pool for a 2021 modified swim team season of the Lake Park Piranhas. With the GCSL has decided that we can have a season this year. We don't have a ton of details as for the numbers of swimmers that we will have and the practice times just yet, but we would like to ask for use of the pool.
Okay. When you say a modified season, do you know what that means?
We will be done by the last week of June, I believe. Everything is not set in stone, but there is no all-star season. So it is literally just your regular season this year. There's no all-stars to follow up. So once we are done with that last meet and the awards banquet, that would be it. We would not need anything after like July 4th. There would be no all-stars to consider for practices or anything like that.
Okay,
So it would be typical season. I think it's mid-May through mid-May would start our practices. Oh, sorry, I didn't think about that.
that's okay. We don't.
May through like June, yeah, through like July 2nd, just to cover us.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Angie?
I don't. You need a motion tonight, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would make a motion. It's Jeremy. I'd make a motion that we open the pool or we accept the modified season for the 2021 season for the Lake Park Piranhas at whatever calendar that looks like once they get it finalized.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Julian, a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the use of the Junior Olympic pool for the Piranha swim team for this coming season, signify by stating A or nay and your name, please.
It's Jeremy. Yes.
This is Julian, yes.
And Joe, yes.
The motion is carried. Yeah, thank you, Angie. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, in your packet that Sheree sent out, she had the minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
This is Julian. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, Julian has made the motion. Is there a second?
It's Jeremy. I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and the A or nay.
Jeremy, aye.
Julian, yes.
And Joe, aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Okay, I'm one slide behind here. Sorry about that. Also, the agenda for this evening was sent out. I would like to make one change to the agenda. I would like to add item number 10D, which is Safe Kits. Are there any other requested changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Mr. Jeremy, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
This is Joe, I'll second.
Okay, Joe has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the amended agenda indicate by stating your name and A or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
The agenda has been approved. All right, moving on to item number 5, council actions. Council did approve a quote from Carolina Pool Management for $1,143.34 for pool supplies for this coming season. And council also did approve a quote from Lucas for $1,035 for the Founders Park sidewalk drainage. As you recall in a previous emails, the commissioners approved the similar project for Russell Park, which includes cutting in 6 swales to drain the water that stands on the sidewalks. So as soon as things dry out a little bit, hopefully Lucas will be able to complete that project and solve the problem with these 2 parks that have been going on for quite some time. Moving on to budget report. Here's a snapshot of our budget. Again, we're in pretty good shape on all line items. We've got about 4 months left in the year. We do have still some money primarily in park maintenance for some small projects. Are there any questions on the budget and where we stand at this point? Okay. Moving on to events. Item number A, the Christmas lights for next year. We approved at the last meeting ordering some of the recommended additional lights that Henry said we would need for the coming year. I did place an order for those lights, and the vendor got back to me and said that they were currently out of stock and did not expect them in until September. So if we still want to leave that order as it stands, we need to add that into next year's budget because it won't hit this year's budget. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll just plan on putting that in next year's budget and leave the order as it stands. It was $900 and some. Okay, and then moving on to item number B, the blood drive. Angie, how did that go yesterday?
It went great. We had 29 appointments scheduled, and of the 29, we had 23 presenting donors. So they were very pleased with that. We collected, well, not we, the American Red Cross collected 21 units. So that was a great turnout and a great result from our blood drive that we had. It was ran pretty smooth. They brought the bus. It was in and out. They checked people in quickly. I don't think there was a huge wait time at any point. So they were out of there by 5:45. So it went great.
Were they
I
pleased
would
with
like
that
to go
turnout?
ahead. Yes, very pleased. Pleased
Okay.
that many showed up and then that they were able to collect that amount. There were only, out of 29, 23, there were only 3 no-shows, which they might have just forgotten. Or if you're the last appointment of the day, you've got to be there within 5 minutes of your appointment. So they were very pleased with the turnout and the showing of everyone that had an appointment actually showed up, with the exception, I think, of 3 people that didn't show up. So what I would like to ask for is to go.
Have we lost you, Angie?
Hold 3. Okay. See, Lindsay did not get back in touch with me before I left for the day. So I am holding a space for a May date. And I would like to ask for August the 15th and October the 16th to go ahead and give approval to have those scheduled so they're on our calendar and we can advertise to the community and to donors.
Okay, so are you requesting 2 dates, one August 15th, the other October 16th?
Yes, and then a placeholder for May. I don't have a May date, but I would like to hold another one in May. The April schedule does not work with everything we've got going on in Lake Park. It would conflict with Girls on the Run. So we cannot hold in April because we have to wait 56 days for our donors in the immediate area to be eligible again. We just had our blood drive. Indian Trail's holding a blood drive next week. So if we push it out to May, it just kind of benefits the schedule and helps with the turnout.
Do you think there will be any problem if the pool is open in August with the blood drive being out here in front of the community center at the same time? I
don't, because it's August 15th. So by then, everybody's kind of slowing down the schedules and everything. They gave me the choice of August 28th. And I figured by then school was back in and everybody would be in the groove of homework, new schedules, everything. So I felt like August 15th would give us a better option of people actually having time to come.
Okay.
I don't think it would conflict with the pool at all.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Red Cross blood drives in May, August, and October?
This is Julian. I make the motion to approve Red Cross blood drives in May, August, and October.
Is there a second?
This is Joe. I'll second.
Okay, Joe is seconded. Any discussion or questions for Angie? If not, all in favor of approving the blood drives in May, August, and October, signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Jeremy, aye.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Motion is carried. Okay. Moving on to the hygiene kit drive, Angie.
Okay, so that's going really well. We are going to call it our MAD, which is an acronym for Making a Difference Hygiene Kit Drive. And we're going to run this from March 1st to the 31st and collect personal care items to support the Union County Shelter. There was an article in the Villager about it. Cherie has put a link to the flyer that I made for the actual list on the webpage. And I will also be making banners, having banners printed at all 3 of the entrances to direct people to that link and let them know that the drive's going on. We have also already had 5 volunteers sign up to help organize, pick up supplies if someone needs a porch pickup, and then process and pack the actual kits once the drive is over. And then we will deliver to the shelter early April, like April 1st. I plan on driving them all down there. So we're collecting regular size and small travel size of your typical hygiene items, bars of soap, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, brushes and combs, over-the-counter medication like Tylenol, allergy medication, antacids, shower flip-flops, baby wipes. The whole list will be on the lakeparknc.gov site.
Okay, sounds like it's very well organized. Any questions for Angie on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else under events, Angie?
Not for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to recreational facilities. Last month, we talked about the need to replace the chains on the swings in Founders Park. Julian, do you have any update on that?
No update. It still remains undone, just due to schedule and weather. So it has not been done, but it still is on the radar.
Okay, very good. Playground mulch, I put that on there, and this is a heads up for you, Julian. Between now and our March meeting, if you could take a look at the playgrounds and determine if any of them need mulch. We do have $5,000 in our budget to add playground mulch if it looks like any or all of them are in need. So if you wouldn't mind, Julian, kind of checking that out and reporting back to us on that next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 9, facilities. We need to discuss rentals going forward. I should say rentals after February. As far as the governor's recommendations, I don't think much has changed there. As far as indoor meetings being limited to 10 or less. And outdoor, I can't remember if it's 25 or 50 at this point.
It's 50
We
for
have had, pardon?
it's 50 for outdoor.
50, thank you. We have had repeated requests from the group of senior citizens that used to play cards in the community center. It was a small group, it's less than 10. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. What Sri and I have kicked around was the possibility of allowing them to use the community room in the community center, provided that they have all had their both COVID-19 shots. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess I say up front, I don't necessarily have a problem with that thought. I would think we just, for our own well-being, we might should run that by the attorney to make sure we can say you can use the building if you've had that done. I'm not sure that we wouldn't be crossing a line of requirements. I could be told, I don't know one way or the other, but I support it as long as we ask the attorney and he's okay with that. It's just my thought.
Okay, all right.
And then how would that be verified?
Yeah.
Well, you actually get, when you've had both your shots, you actually get a vaccination card, and it shows the date that you've had your shots. So that would be, I guess, the way to verify it.
This is Julian. I like where Jeremy went with it. Personally, I'm not comfortable with a vaccination policy of requiring use.
Okay.
So is there going to be any other measures? I mean, face coverings, distancing, other requirements, or you can't use the facility unless you have a vaccine?
I don't know. It was just
I
something
was
that
just, the group of elderly people that meet in that room once every month. They met every Monday afternoon and they played games. So they keep asking me and keep asking me. So I was trying to come up with something that would keep staff as safe as possible and them from themselves as safe as possible. And with it being a group that is there's 9 of them if everyone's there, which is a rarity in itself. I was trying to come up with something that, maybe we could let them back in the building, because I do get that, this just keeps dragging on, and especially most of them live by themselves. I was just trying to come up with some way that we could do something. So, most other groups are larger. The garden club is larger than that. And so that automatically disqualifies them. So that was the only thought there. And I do agree with
I support it, Cherie, but and then I just you actually answered part of the other question. What would be requirements for other groups that their members were 9 or 10 also? So I support the
Yeah,
concept.
and I guess we'd have to go back to Ken to ask because at that point we're mandating you have to have, your shots. I was just trying to come up with some way that they could meet back in this room, which is, bigger, but they're going to be touching everything, they're going to be playing cards and games. So they're in close contact with one another. It's, I don't know, this COVID situation is a no-win situation.
I think one of the main reasons that we have restricted renting our community center and is primarily for protection of our staff. And I think you also bring up some valid points. Is it legal to require certificate of vaccination? Does that discriminate against other groups or other people that would be less than 10 to the group and restricting their use of the rental room? So I think it's a valid question to present to our attorney.
Yeah, and I think also just to follow up, Mayor, and I would support whichever way staff wants to go with this 100%. But if staff is comfortable, if we wanted to open up rental to groups of 10 or less, then you kind of know who's going to use that group's going to be in there, and it's fairly safe if they've all had their vaccination. I don't know if they have or not, but if they have, then that's great. So maybe we just tiptoe around the vaccination point to just say, all right, we'll open it up to groups of 10 or less if staff's comfortable with that. If they're not, then I get it too.
Yeah. This particular group there's not anyone under 80.
Yeah.
So, they have all had their shots to my knowledge.
Yeah. But if you do open it up to groups
I was trying to come up with an idea.
Yeah, if we do open it up in general to groups of 10 or less, occasionally we'll get some HOA boards from surrounding communities, for example, that want to use our meeting room. So it's basically you would be allowing that as well. But I think it's a good question to present to our attorney and see what he has to say. And I guess if everyone's okay with that, we'll just defer rentals through the month of March until our next meeting and try and get some feedback from our attorney. And we may have some more guidelines from the governor by that point too. So would everyone be okay with just continuing with our existing policy until our next March meeting?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments on that? Okay, moving on to item number B. We discussed this at our last meeting. There was a leak in one of the panels on the kiosk. Joe, did you have any chance to look at that?
Yeah. I went out with Angie, met Angie out there, and we took a look at it. And I showed her what the issue was with it. So it's more a problem of the overhang. There's not enough overhang, so the water is just able to drip right down into that panel section. So the only real fix is to have something coming off and overlapping so that it diverts the water off of the that section.
Is that because that panel sticks out? The thickness of that? nut
It's
that's
not
on
the
there?
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the nut. It has nothing to do with how that panel's attached or anything else like that. It's just that the way that the steel was done on top, those sections of steel that wrap around that, the roof basically, that one section comes up short, so that water is actually able to run straight down into the panel. Every other one, there's an overhang of about at least an inch, I guess, and just that one section. So there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to stop water from going into that thing.
Okay. So is the thinking that we just should not use that panel for posting anything? No thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Has there been one that's always leaked, David, as far as you know?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if Angie or Shreed, are you aware of this being a
No.
problem in the past?
No,
It didn't leak until we took out the panels, or we
Okay.
put them back in, however you want to phrase that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue to think on that one, see if we can come up with any reasonable solution to it. But for now, it looks like we will not be able to use that panel until we can fix that leak if it's possible. Thanks for looking at that, Joe. Appreciate that. All right. Moving on to pools and tennis courts. This is probably our big discussion here for this evening. We need to look at what type of pool hours we want to have for this coming season, and also the rates. If you recall, last season we weren't sure whether we were going to have a pool season or not. As it turned out, we pretty much had a normal pool season for hours. The discussion we were having at this time last year was once we had the lights up, were we going to extend the pool hours? And Park and Rec Commission agreed to extend the pool hours on Friday and Saturday nights until 10 p.m. and cut back on Sunday evening from 8 to 6 p.m. I guess, Sheree, you probably are most familiar with the attendance that we had later in the evenings on Friday and Saturday night. Would you like to weigh in on what your thoughts are as far as staying open until 10 p.m.?
Well, we really combated weather this time in trying to stay open later. We had quite a bit of rain during pool season, but if you're asking my recommendation, I think we would be better served to do Friday and Saturday night till 9 o'clock, because it seemed that the time when the pool was open from 9 to 10, that was the time that we had issues. And you also did not have a crowd. I mean, there was less than 15 people here. That's hard to justify, you know. If you look at the pool report and you see how much it cost us to keep the pool open last year, you know, that's just a hard justification. So in looking at trying to minimize our costs, but yet enhance our pool time, if we maintain the Sunday hours from noon to 6, and we took those 2 hours each week that were in the original pool contract, we could add 1 hour on Friday nights and 1 hour on Saturday night at no additional cost to pool operations, and yet still give people an extra hour of swimming time on those 2 nights.
Okay. Other thoughts and comments from the commissioners on that?
The Sundays prior to 2020, Sundays were noon to 6 or noon to 8.
Noon to 8.
Noon to 8.
But we found that a lot of times from 6 to 8 o'clock on Sunday nights, you would not have 10, 20 people here. So that was the reason why we reduced the hours last year. I mean, I provided for David the rates for additional lifeguards if you wanted to increase the pool contract and leave Sundays 12 to 8. You know, there's all kinds of different options.
Yeah,
The,
kind of. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
I was gonna weigh in at what the charge or the cost is. For 3 lifeguards, it's $16 per hour or $48 per hour for the 3 lifeguards. So it would be roughly $100 a week to keep this pool open on Sunday evening till 8 o'clock. Now, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I'm just kind of Monday morning quarterbacking in my head, the dollars and cents and the time frame. I know that we struggled a lot with the weather and the thunderstorms. I'm in my head, I was wondering about if we stayed up until 9 on the Friday and Saturdays, Cherie mentioned, and then do Sundays to 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. I recall there being a lot of comments about Sundays in the 6 p.m. time. And I could be convinced, I could be argued either way that Sunday night, everybody's getting ready to, you know, get settled in, school starting back Monday morning. So they're not going to be out there till 8. On the other hand, it's the last day of the weekend. Everybody's trying to relax as long as they can, stay till 8 p.m. So I don't know, kind of in my head, one of the things we had said last year or early on this year is it'd be hard to judge what we should do with the hours based on the COVID year. And I think that holds true, but I have no problem trying to mitigate our losses based on the dollars and cents to drop it back to 9 p.m. And I could go either way with Sunday till 7. That's just a thought that I had. I'll be quiet and listen to everybody else.
No, good comments. Julian or Joe, do you have any thoughts on that?
This is Julian. I was thinking cutting back from 10 to 9, as Cherie said. And so I definitely agree with that suggestion. I like that one. On Sundays, I'm on the fence, 6 or 7. I think 8 is maybe, in my personal opinion, is a little late. I'm okay with 6 and on the fence for 7.
Okay. Angie, what are your thoughts?
I like closing at 9 on Fridays and Saturdays. I think that's the latest we should ever be open, keeping in mind the age of our guards. Sunday, I kind of feel like Julian. I think by 6 p.m., most people are done. The few that would stay for that extra hour or two, I don't know, we may be incurring a cost for 2 people. Sunday nights, most people get ready for their week. I think it's low numbers on Sunday evenings, except for at the very beginning of the season.
Yeah, I can see it either way. I like 7 better than 8 o'clock, but even, 7 may not be justified, and I don't have any data to support that one way or the other. But did Sri or Angie or anybody else, do you recall if we got complaints about closing at 6, or people seem to be okay with that?
There were some complaints in the beginning, but I think everyone adjusted, but there was a few, not very many.
I also think, once again, this is another COVID year, basically. We don't know at this point what, are they going to increase our pool deck capacities? Is the governor going to change that? We don't know. Because that makes a difference also. Plus, you've got a lot of people that are waiting on those kind of things to decide, are they going to join? And some of them, it's going to be a matter of, for a lot of people, it's a false protection. But, if I've had my COVID shots and chlorine kills COVID, then they're going, it increases their comfort zone to be at the pool. But I don't know what the capacity numbers, if they're going to keep them the same or, go up to 75%. I don't see them being 100% this summer.
Yeah.
What we were pre-COVID.
Yeah. Well, our memberships were way down last year, and we really took a hit, approximately $27,000 in income that we had originally, or I won't say we originally anticipated that, but from the previous year, we were down about $27,000. So I think there's an argument to be made about trying to keep our costs down.
Mayor, this is Julian. I do think one of the things that will help revenue is, without having a swim team last year, that was a reason a lot of families didn't join the pool, myself included.
That's a good point.
I think we still need to be careful with how we spend, but I think more families or revenue will increase just because we have the option for the swim team. So.
Yeah. Good point. Well, would everyone be okay keeping the hours on Friday and Saturday night then at 9 o'clock and closing again this year at 6 on Sunday?
This is Julian. I am.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I'm not going to vote against that, but I will say that I think that there's some give and take for those that stayed out there. And I realized there were issues that happened after 9 p.m. But I wonder if some give and take would be staying open till 9. We're cutting that back on Friday and Saturday, but we're giving an hour back on Sunday. And that's not a late night hour where you're going to be susceptible to the issues that arose in the past.
Yeah.
So, I would, if it were my druthers and I were making the motion, it would be to be open till 7 on Sunday, but I'll stand by and see where it goes.
And maybe it's time to entertain that if a pool member is argumentative or aggressive towards the lifeguards, we visit revoking memberships should problems arise on the deck, whether it's weather related or not weather related. I think I kind of get protective of the kids when they're out there late and they're trying to do a job that they're paid to do. And then you have adults that are, instead of setting an example, are becoming a little aggressive or a little argumentative when they're trying to do the job they've had to be done to be paid. So I think 7 would be the absolute latest on a Sunday, but I don't think we would lose memberships by closing at 6.
Well, we do
Went
have,
around the bush for nothing. Go ahead.
we do have a 3 strikes, you're out policy that we need to, that's in the pool rules existing, that we probably need to make sure that, a lot of people just sign the pool membership stating that they understand the rule. They don't necessarily read the rules. We need to make sure that they read and understand the 3 strikes, you're out. And we need to make sure we're documenting that, those incidents, so that when we say, unfortunately you're done, then you've got, this occurred on this day, this occurred then, to be fair to both the lifeguards and the pool member. But
Yeah, and I agree 100 wholeheartedly, Cherie, and Angie, make no mistake about it. I don't for 1 minute take up for any of the situations that occurred. I wasn't involved in any of them and don't have personal knowledge of them, but I totally agree with you. And if I didn't know the policy existed, it does. They sign it, and we have a documentation form, and it is what it is on the 3rd strike. I mean, it's an amenity and you pay to use it, but at the end of the day, there is an expectation that you're an adult and you act accordingly.
well,
Joe, anything from you? I hadn't heard anything from Joe.
Yeah, I align, I think, a lot more with Julian in that, what makes financial sense. If there's only going to be a couple people there past a certain time, why bother paying lifeguards to be out there? That's more my input.
Yeah, and I'm kind of leaning that way too at this point, especially when we don't know, again, how many members we're going to have. And I think Julian made a good point that we expect increased membership this year, but it could very well still be down. We've always lost money on the pool, but previously we've lost in the $17,000 to $18,000 a year, where last year we lost over $40,000 on the pool. So it's a drop in the bucket, but I think for this year it may make sense to try and do what we can to cut our losses. So if it's closing at 6 on Sunday, it's probably not a big deal as far as people wanting to use the pool those late hours. So I would lean towards closing it at 6 on Sunday, but keeping it open at 9 till 9 on Friday and Saturday. So,
Is there a weekly report that's compiled that we could get to the usage? I've never seen that.
No, I mean, I look at their book because they do head counts and everything. I could work to get you some numbers in general for the future. I could do that for this season. Just tell them up front that we'd like that kind of report, and whether it's something that we have to pull from their book or they can pull, we could certainly supply you with that.
I think that gives us hard data on the decisions in the future.
Okay.
yeah.
I can do
But
that for
Cherie,
the full season.
Cherie, I don't think they document who's there at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I mean,
No,
they keep a record of when people sign in.
No, but we do head counts periodically during the pool day. Not every hour, but periodically they do. So we could request that and let them know that we'd like to know, say, on Sunday afternoons at 5 o'clock for, for this
Okay.
season, how many people are in the pool, and then how many people are there when they close. Something like that. I can work on that. We can provide some data for next year, Jeremy.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Are
All
we
right.
just a couple of weeks and not the whole season, right?
Well,
Is that-
I think doing it the month of June and then toward the end of pool season would be very beneficial, because at the beginning, everyone's excited about pool season and you have your heaviest usage. And then, toward the end of the season, it's like after 4th of July, our numbers drop off tremendously. And, this year they stayed lower across the board, but they were steady. So we'll try to maintain some information mid-season and end of season also. We'll work at making it easy for them, though.
Okay, at this point, would someone like to make a motion to, regarding pool hours, to leave the pool open till 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday night, close Sunday night at, well, do we need to cover all the hours every day of the week? Maybe that's the proper motion would be to set the pool hours for Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. and Sunday from noon till 6 p.m.
This is Julian. I'll make the motion for the pool hours for the 2021 season to be Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday from noon to 6 p.m.
Okay, Julian has made the motion. Is there a second?
This is Joe. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Jeremy, aye.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, the motion is carried. Next thing we need to discuss is the pool rates for the coming year. And I think, Sheree, did you send out the pool rates to everybody?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay,
That was
so-
attached.
Everyone should have had a chance to look at that, hopefully. I think the question is whether we want to increase the pool rates for next year or keep them the same. Any discussion or thoughts on that?
I don't have a thought or discussion on that. I do have a thought on adding at least one tier in there whenever it's appropriate to discuss that.
Go ahead.
I would think I've had several people, quite a few, contacted me about one parent, two children. I would propose we add one parent and two children for $245 for residents and $300 for non-residents.
Okay, say that again, Jeremy, please.
One parent and two children for $245 as a resident. So that saves them about $30 from having to buy a family pass at the current rates. If they only have two children, divorced spouse with two kids, that's been everyone that has commented to me about it or talked to me, that's the situation. So one parent, two children, $245 as a resident, $300 as a non-resident. And those are just arbitrary numbers as I looked at the rates that I came up with.
Let me throw this out. What if we just had one parent and children? Because you might have a situation where you have one parent and three children.
I agree. And one of the, and just discussing this amongst myself in my head is you can't cover every scenario, but I would have no problem with one parent and children. Yeah, that actually suits me well, and discuss the price and we can go from there. But yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, there's a loophole because under the family, a family could be 2 adults and a baby or a toddler, like 3. So a couple with a 3 or 4-year-old is going to pay $275, but a mom with 2 kids is only going to pay $245. I think the way our definitions for each category, and it's on the website, I don't have it in front of me. I think family is 3 or more people in the house. And then you get into a family also covers the grandparents that are living in the home. So there's always going to be loopholes. That's just my little glitch there. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying you got to think about all the different categories.
Yeah, I guess, my thought in agreeing with Jeremy is that, if you've got a single parent, their financial resources are usually less than if you've got, 2 working adults. Especially if you've got one parent with 2 or 3 children, that person probably is strapped much more than,
Well, you are going to have, if you open this up, one parent and children, you're going to have mom or dad and the children that join because one of the adults doesn't use the pool.
well, that's true too. Yeah.
I mean, and that's
We may have
fine.
two working parents, but
Be aware.
yeah.
I don't know how to, you can't say single, well, I guess, no, because you can't define, legally, I don't think you can say single parent and children. It's just one parent and children.
Yeah, and I would say my only rebuttal to that, I agree with you, Sheree, would be if one parent and 3 children sign up at $245, they would have had to have paid more than that. They would have had to pay more than $275 for both parents and 3 children because that family only covers 4. Am I correct?
Now, family is a family. I mean, it's not unlimited. It's the children that, are your children that live in your household that are your dependents.
Yeah, and we've even got some wording on there about they have to be on your tax record. So
It says that, but there's also reality that you've got. I have families that I know that grandma lives with them and she brings the kids to the pool. She's, we know she lives with them. And so she comes, she's a member. She gets her own pool tag.
yeah.
So
What's your thought? What's your thought on the one parent, 2 children?
Well, the only thing that the one thing that concerns me on that is the 2 children. What happens if someone has that 3rd child? That's automatically going to push them to a family membership. But the other thing is going to be if it's a joint household and we sell a pool membership to mom, because Monday through Friday, mom comes to the pool with the kids. But on the weekends, dad wants to come. It's just harder for the lifeguards. They're really going to have to, which we struggle with this all the time. They're really going to have to check their memberships because dad's not on the membership. He'll have to have a guest pass.
Or buy a daily thing, whatever.
Or buy a daily, yes.
Yeah.
I have something that may be information that might help. So like the local YMCA's, the way that they do it is actually by your income. because we're making a pretty hefty assumption that a single parent is broke and can't afford something, which I don't think that's a really smart way to look at this, because a single parent could be the dad who's an attorney and has a few children. So maybe it might be smarter to look at this from, what kind of financials, where they are, and maybe adjust it from there. That's my input.
I think that's a good point, but I don't know if we want to get into having them bring in their tax returns to determine what their pool rate is.
At that point, are we discriminating based on income?
Like I
Yeah,
said, it's the way that every single YMCA runs. It's based
Yeah.
on your income.
No, we just had a discussion in council that we're working on a NCDOT discrimination policy, and that's one of the concerns. So council's more sensitive to that
yeah,
right
there was
now
a
as we're
statement.
going through this process
There was a statement in that
about
Joe,
income.
discrimination based on income.
Yes,
And I think the difference may be that the YMCA is not a government entity.
entity.
And so we've got a little bit different rules probably that we have to follow. I don't know. I don't know if we're just making it too complicated.
Well, I guess what's the difference between one parent, one child? See, the thing is, all of a sudden, if it's one parent and children, you're going to do away with the one parent, one child membership.
Yeah, but if we go at 245, then it makes it worse for the one parent, one child.
Yeah. So I don't have an answer.
What if there's a price per child more? Something a little bit more per child.
Possibly.
That's an idea.
Sheree, tell me again, and I should have looked this up before we got on here tonight. Family, it could include more than 4 people?
Yes, sir. If you have,
sorry,
like, we have
said
one
yes or no?
family, we have one family, Angie, correct me on this. I want to promise they've got 8 kids.
Yes,
Okay, so it's mom, dad, and 8 kids. That's a family.
they literally have 8 children, no lie.
They're one
I
away from
think
being tax
it goes-
exempt.
What?
9, you're tax exempt. I'd go for the last one.
No, they have 8s at home. They really have 11, but they've aged out. Anyway, an individual is one adult person. A family can be up to 4 people, 2 adults who permanently reside at the same address. An adult child is one adult age 18 and up and one child that resides in the same household. A couple is 2 adult ages 18 and up in the same address. Senior individuals 55 and over. A senior couple is 2 adults permanently residing at the same address with at least one person over 55. I mean, this is a can of worms. We could get into, like, if they have family visiting, they buy guest passes for grandchildren that might visit or cousins that might visit. So I don't know.
Yeah, so circle back around a minute, Angie. Your family definition you're looking at, it says up to 4 people.
Well, that's an ideal verbiage. That is not Lake Park verbiage. I'm getting ready to get on my Lake Park verbiage. Hold on.
Well, that's where I'm looking at now, Angie. I went to
Oh, thank you, Julian.
I went to the Village of Lake Park, and that
Mhm.
verbiage is probably going to need to be reviewed by the lawyer, because you got family as a husband and wife. So, I mean, is that a family?
There you go. Husband, residing at the same address, dependents ages 3 through 21. Yep.
So I was just looking at this.
Couple, husband and wife. Woo, yeah.
So I'm like,
We
I'm
got
looking at,
that current.
yeah.
So let me circle back to my original discussion then. What if we do one parent and child, that leave it at 205 or whatever the rate's gonna be after we have this discussion, with an additional $35 per child? If you add 2 more children, that's 3, that gets you to the 275 family rate. But if you only added 1, it gets you to 240. So the one parent and child is 205 plus $35 for each additional child. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
I like that idea. Whatever the math works to make it when you add children up, it goes to putting you in the family rate. So however the number is matched to give the single parent the option to add additional kids, and then they'll make a business decision. Do I want to pay for 2 kids or do I want to pay for the family? Whatever that math works out to.
I think it's interesting if you go from an individual at 140 to an individual with 1 child, it jumps $65. So, you know, being a parent with 1 child, that child costs you $65. If you extrapolated that and said $65 for the next child, you'd almost be at family rate. You know, not that we have to extrapolate linearly, but just throw that out there. You know, I don't know. It's a big deal to add another category in there. Make the font size a little smaller so we can get it on one page and
Sure.
throw in that 1 parent and 2 children at 245. You know, it's not a big deal, I don't think. And it does provide a little more flexibility. And then, like Julian said, you get to the point where, oh, you got 3 children, you're better off buying a family plan. Everybody okay with that one?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah,
We would add one more membership rate, which would be 1 parent / 2 children at Jeremy's suggested price of $245 for resident and $300 for non-resident. And then if somebody has 3 or 4 children, you know, they're better off going with a family plan.
that's probably a benefit to your swim team families that have got 3 kids swimming or less than 3 kids swimming. That's going to be cheaper than them joining. If they've got 2 kids swimming, right now they're currently paying $340. That'll put them down to $300. They would
Yeah.
save $40,
Yeah.
which is fine. That's just a discount but that's
Yeah.
going to, because we've got quite a few of the non-resident swim team family. It'll be parent, you know, they've either had to join as 1 parent, 1 child, or if they had that second child, they had to join as a family. So that's just an FYI.
Sheree, Joe dropped out and would like to get back in the meeting. Can you?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at numbers.
No, that's fine.
I admitted him.
Okay, the other question we haven't answered is, do we want to keep the rates the same?
Oh, yeah, this is Julian. I'm good with the current rates. If we can get agreement on the addition that Jeremy spoke of, but with the current rates that are listed, I think keeping those the same.
Okay. Would you like to make that a motion, Julian?
Is it going to be two separate motions? Well, the first, if I was going to make a motion, I'll make a motion that we do look at the 2021 rates to remain the same as 2021. So does that need to be separate? And then,
No, I think you could add the addition of one more rate.
look at keeping the rates for 2021 the same as 2020 with the addition of a rate for one parent, two children, as detailed by Jeremy Russell.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Jeremy, I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
One piece of discussion, not to get sidetracked, Mayor. Sheree, do you think we lose any memberships by not offering simply doing the math and figuring out a prorated membership rate by the day? Do you think we would make any, I don't want to say make any more money, but we gain any more income if we just looked at it and figured out what that algorithm is to allow because I keep hearing you and Angie say after July 4th it's dead. Would we make any more money, you think, or gain any income if we knew on July 4th you could buy a residential membership for $103 or whatever that number is? Or do you think it's best just left alone with daily passes?
I think you're best left alone because typically we don't sell more than 3 or 4 memberships after 4th of July. And your dailies come more from one of the reasons our daily pool rate is so high was in the past when we had summer camps. And then you have residents that buy pool members that buy the daily swim. I mean, you do have some walk up, but you tend to have more pool members buying guest passes, and our camps are what drives that number. So I don't think you pick up anything. And if anything, you create
An opportunity for somebody not to buy one at $275 because they know they're not going to come in the beginning.
or that what if I know I want to come June and July, but I'm going to be in Europe the month of August.
Yeah.
So
No, I understand. It's just a question.
Yeah, no, I think unfortunately you'd be opening a challenge opportunity.
Sure. Okay. I'm done, Mayor.
Any other discussion, comments? Not, we have a motion and a second to maintain the 2021 pool membership rates the same as 2020 with the addition of one additional rate for one parent and two children at $245 for residents and $300 for non-residents. All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Mr. Jeremy, aye.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. Anything else, Sheree, on pool hours or rates?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Okay,
Hey, Mayor,
I
before
put-
we get past the pool, I do think, I think Angie looked at the membership category description policy. So that may need to be revisited with definitions.
Yes, we'll update that.
yeah. Yeah, and thanks for pointing that out. Okay, I put pool furniture on the agenda because we need to take a inventory of our mainly our umbrellas and tables to see if we need to order anything else there, so that we could, at the next meeting, we could get those on order. So Julian, do you want to get with Angie and Sheree and just take that inventory?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item number C, the tennis court light timer. I've had a conversation in the last week with Jonathan Balcom about getting the timer installed. He said he's had it on his schedule 2 or 3 times and has had to cancel because of the wet grounds. So it's still coming, but I told him we'd rather, he waited until the ground was dry enough so he didn't tear up any of the lawn around the pool or around the tennis courts. So he has not forgotten about it. Last thing on pools is what we added this evening about the Safe Kids Kit. The Park and Recreation Director from Indian Trail offered to include the Village of Lake Park in the Safe Kids program. It's a national program, but he sits on the board for the Union County Safe Kids Board. One of the focuses this year is water safety, and Safe Kids has developed bags that are family focused with coloring sheets, tattoos, beach ball stickers, and also includes information on water safety. They've asked if Lake Park would be interested in having this information on hand for swim lesson participants or families. The bags would come pre-stuffed and no cost to the village. They're just looking to bring education and awareness. They would even bring them over to the Village of Lake Park. Would we like to participate in that program? I don't see any downside.
Yeah, Mr. Jeremy, I'd make a motion. We participate with thanks.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Julian, I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor indicate by stating your name and A or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Forget, Sheree, was that you that pointed out the erosion over there at Connie's Pond? I think
Yes, sir.
Foster Lake and Pond also had brought this to our attention, and they had given us a price. When we put in the new sidewalk over there, for whatever reason, we stopped with the sod short of the far end of the sidewalk, and there's getting to be a lot of erosion there. You can see where it's actually eroding out under the sidewalk there a little bit. Foster Lake and Pond had given us a price of about $1,700 to repair this area. Got a quote from Lucas to spread 5 yards of fill dirt and install a pallet of Bermuda sod for $1,175. We have about $1,000 left in our sidewalk budget. I think we could, pull from there to get this completed. Any questions on this? If not, is there a motion to approve the quote from Lucas for repairs at Connie's Pond for $1,175?
Jeremy, I'll make the motion to approve $1,175 to Lucas for their erosion control at Connie's Pond.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Joe, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and aye or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Motion is carried. This will have to go to council. All right, at our last meeting, we were informed that resident Mr. Jeffrey has agreed to donate 10 bluebird houses to the village. We approved a motion to accept the donation, and he is going to stain 2 of the birdhouses with different colors. I forget, brown and green or something. He has not yet done that. We still will need to figure out where and how we're going to mount these birdhouses, but just wanted to give you an update on that. Will brought to our attention that the Churchill entrance, where the sign and the bench are, there's a fairly large concrete pad there, but it pretty much stays underwater, especially this winter and spring. Will suggested taking out the bench and the pad, just putting in sod in that area. I met with Scott Staub at Lucas, and he was going to take some measurements there to see if there was a possibility of putting in a swale to get that drained out of there. And I have not heard back from him on that. The other possibility that in looking at it would be to break out the old pad and just pour a new pad that would be maybe 6 inches higher, so that water would not stand in there. I have not gotten any pricing on that option. Does anybody have any thoughts on what you would like to see done on that corner? That's your corner, Jeremy.
Yeah, I look at it every day. I've not noticed the water, but I've been slammed at work. I leave before dark, before sunlight, and after dark, I'm getting home. But I'm sure he's right. I've often thought of some additional beautification there. I'm pointing at my computer screen, but out there in that natural area, totally a different deal than what you're talking about there. But I do see people sitting over there on that bench fairly regularly. I don't know if they're just watching traffic or what they're doing, but I don't know that I see enough to recommend to say I wouldn't take it out, but I do see some people sitting on that bench for sure, occasionally.
Well, that's good feedback. Right now, you'd have to put on waders to get over there, but
Yeah,
I think the least expensive option would be if we could cut a little swale there to drain out to the curb. If we tear that pad out of there and sod, you're gonna have the cost of tearing the pad out plus the cost of putting in sod. And then you would lose the bench in that location. I can, well, I think, let's see if it's possible to put a swale in there. And if that is not possible, I'll go ahead and see if I can get a price to put in a new pad. And then we could compare that price.
sure.
Mayor, is it possible to re-landscape where those two mounds of, I think it's like lyropy or something, and then that shrub, and just sod that whole area so that the water has somewhere to go instead of creating that hump of mulch and hump of dirt? Just make that flat and level and leave the bench there?
Well, that little mound of plants is really not what's obstructed. It's to the right of that. The grass is just higher than the concrete at that point. So
It's gonna need pressure washing too, once it dries up. in the
Yeah,
spring.
definitely, yeah. That's another issue for next month probably, is we need to talk about pressure washing a lot of these decorative benches. They really started to look bad,
Sure.
especially in locations like this. So we need to be talking about playground equipment, pressure washing, but then add benches and some other locations. We'll put that on the agenda for next month. So, well, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. But in the meantime, we'll see what Lucas can do. And then if that isn't going to work, we'll try and price out the other two options on that. So. Okay, in the east corner of Matheson Square, there's a big L-shaped planter. And there are some plants in there, but on both ends it's bare. So we need to add at least 2 plants in each of those. Be nice to have some type of evergreen shrub in there, for example. And Will was looking into that. He's not here with us this evening, but I did ask Lucas for ballpark budgetary pricing. And basically about $35 or less per plant. So we'd be looking at $140 to put in 4 plants there. Of typical shrubs. So would like to look at that and the little location over there just in front of Lake Park Cafe, where we've got a stump from a tree that was planted there a long time ago, and this little area has been bare for several years. Kind of actually an eyesore. Joe, I don't know what you think about it. But
That's been that way ever since we've been there. So
yeah.
now, yeah.
So talked to, well, Will had suggested putting a ginkgo goldspire in there, which is an attractive vertical type tree. And I'd asked Lucas for some pricing on that, but he could not get a 15-gallon plant, so he had to go with a 2-inch caliper plant, and it was going to run over $400. My thought on that is that's probably a harsh environment to put any plant, any tree, and I don't know that we want to spend over $400 on a tree for that area. Typically, a 15-gallon tree like a crepe myrtle runs in a $140 price range. There's a little additional cost here because Lucas is going to have to hand dig the stump out of there. But my thought here is the planter on the east corner, adding the 4 plants there, plus putting in some type of a crepe myrtle or other small tree in this location here would run right around $400 total. So would like to request approval from the commission to spend up to $400 for those 2 locations. Any thoughts on that?
David, is Lucas going to water?
Pardon?
Is Lucas going to water those new plants?
Well, Joe would water this tree. Oh.
Okay. Poor Joe.
Actually, Joe won't be doing it. Joe's employees will be doing it.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe's employees were very good last year about watering the flowers in the planters
And we
around the town
appreciated
center.
that.
Yeah. Probably not, Sheree, to answer your question. So we need to, whatever we need to put into any of these locations need to be hardy and pretty much self-sufficient.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, we probably need to at least budget for next fiscal year, then some plant watering. You'd like to think that it's gonna dry out some come July, August, September, that they may need some water.
Yeah. As you recall, we had put in over $3,000 for watering our new trees and we didn't have to use it but
And we
one
did
time.
good not to have root rot this year.
Yeah, right. But so you never know what to expect there, but so I guess I'm looking for a motion to approve up to $400 to put plants in the 2 locations in the town center.
Jeremy, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Joe. I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of spending up to $400 for the plants at the town center indicate by stating your name and A or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julie and I.
And Joe, I.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Item number 12 is mulch. And this is just a heads up. We normally spread hardwood mulch in the common areas in April timeframe. So just when you're driving around, keep your eyes open for any locations that you see that are either bare on mulch or missing mulch. And we'll try and compile that and get that to Lucas. And then at our next meeting, we probably will be seeking to spend about $12,000 on hardwood mulch. That will have to go to council in April. So that's our time frame on that. So we'll add that to our agenda for next month. Are there any other items that anybody would like to discuss?
Yes,
Before
sir,
we
I have
adjourn?
one. The fountain closest to Central Church of God, the bearings are going bad. We've requested pricing, and I had hoped to have that for tonight, but did not receive that. And we'll also be getting a quote from Jonathan Balcom on it. Carolina Pool Management's going to give us a price in Balcom. With the bearings going bad, it looks like we're going to have to replace that motor. I simply don't know how much at this point.
On the fountain budget, we currently spend $250 a month for fountain maintenance, but we've got extra in there to cover things like replacing a motor. Trying to find the item quickly. Yeah, we've got about $1,000, I believe, extra in the budget over just the regular maintenance to cover repairs. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, it seems like a new motor out there costs around $500. Should we have a motion to spend up to $750 for motor replacement on a clock tower fountain? Do you think that would cover it, Shriek?
Honestly, I'm sorry to say I don't have any idea. The last thing we replaced on the fountains was a timer.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how expensive these motors are. And I'm not sure on a motor, and Joe, you will know this, I would think. Since it's not attached to the pool, do I have to have an electrical inspection?
Yeah, you would still
Would it be in a fountain? That I don't know, because
yeah.
if it has to have an electrical inspection, I'm sure the price is going to go up. Honestly, Mayor Cleveland, I really
You're just replacing the motor, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't know any electrician that would actually pull a permit just to, do a simple swap out for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Technically, yes, you're supposed to.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's rather than wait a month in case that motor goes out next week, let's have a motion to spend up to $750 for motor replacement on the clock tower fountain.
Jeremy, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Julie and I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and aye or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, motion is carried. Anything else for this evening? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Jeremy, I'll make that motion as well.
Okay, Jeremy has made the motion. Is there a second?
This is Joe. I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Joe. All those in favor signify by stating your name and aye or nay.
Jeremy, I.
Julian, I.
And Joe, I.
Okay, motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.